King Zethkar sat on his crystal throne, watching the stars through the massive windows of his palace. He ruled 17 star systems and commanded fleets that could destroy entire worlds. Today felt boring. He needed something to entertain himself. His military advisor, General Krex, walked into the throne room carrying a datapad. The old general's 4 arms moved quickly as he searched through reports. "My king, we have found another primitive world," Krex said, bowing his large head. "The scouts call it Earth. It sits in a small system with 1 star. Zethkar yawned. His people, the Vorthak, had conquered hundreds of worlds. Most surrendered without a fight when they saw the royal fleets. "What makes this one special?" "Nothing. My king. That is why it might be perfect for Prince Vexthor's first command," Krex replied. "The creatures there are very primitive. They barely know how to leave their own world." The king's interest grew. His nephew Vexthor was young and eager to prove himself in battle. The prince had trained for years, but never led a real conquest. A weak world would be perfect practice. "Tell me about these Earth creatures," Zethkar commanded. Krex touched his datapad and holographic images appeared in the air. Strange 2-legged creatures appeared, walking around on the surface of a blue and green world. "They call themselves humans," Krex explained. "Our scouts say they only discovered how to split atoms a few decades ago. They use chemical rockets to move through space. Very slow and dangerous." Zethkar laughed. The Vorthak had mastered faster-than-light travel thousands of years ago. They used clean energy and could move between stars in days. These humans sounded like children playing with fire. "How many humans are there?" the king asked. "About 8 billion on their home world. They live in separate groups that often fight each other. They have never worked together against an outside threat." "Perfect," Zethkar said, standing up from his throne. "Send word to Prince Vexthor. He will lead the Crimson Talon fleet to conquer this Earth. It will be good training." The Crimson Talon was one of the most beautiful fleets in the Vorthak Empire. 300 ships painted in deep red and gold colors. Each ship carried weapons that could level mountains. The fleet held 50,000 of the king's best warriors. General Krex looked worried. "My king, perhaps a smaller force would be enough. These humans seem very weak." "Nonsense." Zethkar waved his hand. "Let the boy have some fun. Besides, I want to make this interesting." The king walked to his communication center and opened a channel to every civilized world in the galaxy. Thousands of species would receive his message. "Citizens of the galaxy," Zethkar spoke into the transmitter, "I invite you to watch something entertaining. My nephew, Prince Vexthor, will conquer a primitive world called Earth. Watch as the mighty Vorthak Empire adds another world to our collection." Across the galaxy, beings tuned in to watch. Most expected a quick and easy victory. The Vorthak were known for their military power. Watching them crush a primitive species would be like watching adults defeat children in a game. Prince Vexthor received his orders with great excitement. He was tall and strong, even for a Vorthak. His red skin gleamed under the lights of his command ship. He had dreamed of this moment for years. "Uncle gives me a whole fleet for some primitive apes?" Vexthor asked his second-in-command captain, Drix. "The king wants to be sure you succeed," Drix replied. "These humans might have crude weapons." Vexthor laughed. 300 ships against creatures who barely know how to fly? This will be the easiest conquest in Vorthak history." The prince studied the reports about Earth. The humans had built some space stations and sent a few probes to nearby planets. They had nuclear weapons, but these were ancient technology to the Vorthak. Their strongest weapons would barely scratch Vorthak armor. "Look at this." Vexthor showed Drix a picture of human spacecraft. They strapped themselves to controlled explosions and hoped not to die. How did such weak creatures survive long enough? To develop technology? Perhaps they are lucky, Drix suggested. Their luck ends when they meet us, Vex Thor declared. The Crimson Talon fleet gathered at the edge of Vorthak space. Each ship was loaded with the best weapons and equipment. The fleet's flagship, the Royal Claw, was as large as a small city. Its weapons could destroy everything on a planet's surface in hours. As the fleet prepared to leave, King Zethkar sent a final message to his nephew. Remember, this is your first conquest. Show no mercy, but also show wisdom. The galaxy watches. You today. Make our family proud. I will not disappoint you, Uncle, Vex Thor replied. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel. The journey to Earth would take 7 days. During this time, Vex Thor studied everything about his target. The more he learned, the more confident he became. Humans had only been sending signals into space for about a century. They had never detected any alien civilizations. They had no idea that thousands of species lived among the stars. They would be completely surprised when the Vorthak arrived. They won't even know what hit them, Vex Thor told his officers during a planning meeting. We'll destroy their satellites first, then demand surrender. If they refuse, we destroy their largest cities until they give up. Captain Drix looked at the tactical displays. What if they try to fight back? With what? Vex Thor pointed to images of human military equipment. Metal projectiles and chemical explosives? Our shields will stop anything they can throw at us. The other officers laughed. Some had fought in real wars against species with advanced technology. This mission felt more like a vacation than a military operation. On the 3rd day of travel, Communications Officer Yex picked up strange signals from Earth's direction. The signals were very weak but seemed organized. Prince, I'm detecting unusual transmissions from the target system, Yex reported. Vex Thor barely looked up from his meal. What kind of transmissions? I'm not sure. They're using frequencies our scouts didn't mention. The signals seem to bounce between different points in their system. Probably just more primitive radio chatter, the prince decided. These humans love to talk to each other about nothing important. Drix studied the data more carefully. The signal pattern seems very organized, almost like a military communication network. Impossible, Vex Thor said. Our scouts would have detected any real military technology. These creatures are barely past the Stone Age in galactic terms. The fleet continued its journey. Each day, the strange signals from Earth grew stronger. By the 6th day, they seemed to come from all over the human solar system. Not just from Earth, but from their moon, from the red planet they called Mars, and from the asteroid belt between planets. Prince, Yex said nervously, these signals are definitely military in nature. The humans seem to have much better communication technology than our reports suggested. Vex Thor finally paid attention. He looked at the data and frowned. The signals did look suspicious, but his uncle's scouts had been very clear. Humans were primitive. Our scouts spent months studying this system, Vex Thor said firmly. They would not make such a basic mistake. These signals must be natural phenomena that looks like communication. Captain Drix was not convinced, but he said nothing more. The prince had made his decision. On the 7th day, the Crimson Talon fleet arrived at the edge of the human solar system. Prince Vex Thor stood on the bridge of his flagship, ready to claim his first conquest. He had no idea that everything was about to go very, very wrong. Prince Vex Thor stared at the tactical display on his flagship's bridge. What he saw made no sense. The human solar system looked nothing like the scout reports described. This can't be right, he muttered, checking the data again. According to the scouts, Earth should have a few simple satellites and maybe some basic space stations. Instead, the sensors showed hundreds of structures throughout the system. Large platforms orbited near Earth. Complex installations covered the human moon. The red planet Mars seemed to be covered with industrial facilities. Captain Drix, are you seeing this? Vex Thor called to his second-in-command. Drix ran his 4 hands over the control panels, double-checking everything. Prince, the sensors are working correctly. But this doesn't match our intelligence reports at all. The asteroid belt between Mars and the outer planets was the biggest surprise. Instead of empty rocks floating in space, it looked like a massive mining and construction operation. Huge machines moved between asteroids, taking them apart and building new structures. "How long since our scouts visited this system?" Vexthor asked. 2 years, Prince. But this level of construction would take decades to complete. Communications Officer Yex turned from her station with a worried expression. "Prince, I'm picking up the signals again. They're much stronger now, and they're definitely coming from artificial sources all over the system." Vexthor felt his confidence starting to crack. Something was very wrong here. But his uncle expected him to conquer this world. The entire galaxy was watching. He could not show weakness now. Maybe the humans got help from another species, he decided. It doesn't matter. We have 300 ships. Whatever they've built, we can destroy it. He ordered the fleet to move deeper into the system, toward Earth. As they traveled, more details became clear. The structures around Earth were not simple space stations. They were complex facilities with energy signatures that looked almost military. The human moon was the strangest sight of all. Parts of its surface seemed to be artificial. Huge doors and openings were visible on the side facing Earth. Energy. Readings from inside were enormous. "What are the humans doing to their moon?" Drix wondered aloud. Before anyone could answer, a new signal reached the fleet. This one was directed specifically at them. A clear transmission in perfect Vorthak language. "Attention Vorthak fleet. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, Director of the Solar Defense Consortium. You have entered human space without permission. State your intentions immediately." The bridge fell silent. How did these primitive humans know the Vorthak language? How did they even know the fleet was coming? Vexthor quickly recovered from his shock. So what if the humans had learned some basic languages? They were still primitives playing with technology they didn't understand. "Open a channel," he commanded. "I will show these apes who they're dealing with." The main screen activated, showing a human female sitting in what looked like a command center. She had dark hair and serious eyes. Behind her, Vexthor could see other humans working at advanced-looking control stations. "I am Prince Vexthor of the mighty Vorthak Empire," he announced. "You will surrender your world immediately. Resistance is useless. We have come to claim Earth for the Empire." Dr. Chen looked at him calmly. She did not seem afraid or impressed. "I see. And you brought 300 ships to conquer 8 billion humans?" "More than enough," Vexthor replied with a cruel smile. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." The human woman was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke in a voice that was completely calm and controlled. "Prince Vexthor, you have made a serious mistake. You and your uncle have badly underestimated humanity. I'm going to give you one chance to leave peacefully. You have 72 hours to exit our solar system. This is your only warning." Vexthor burst out laughing. Several of his officers joined in. A primitive human threatening the Vorthak Empire? It was the funniest thing he had ever heard. "You dare threaten us?" he gasped between laughs. "Little human, do you see these ships? Each one carries weapons that could destroy your largest cities. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. What makes you think your backward species can resist us?" Dr. Chen's expression did not change. 72 hours, Prince. I suggest you use that time wisely." The transmission ended. Vexthor was still chuckling as he turned to his tactical officer. "Begin scanning their defenses. I want to know exactly what these humans think they can fight us with." The scans revealed more surprises. The space stations around Earth were heavily armed with weapons that looked very advanced. Energy readings suggested weapon systems far beyond what primitive humans should possess. "Prince," the tactical officer reported. "These weapon signatures don't match anything in our database. They appear to use technologies we don't recognize." "Impossible," Vexthor said. "Run the scans again. There must be an error." The second scan confirmed the first. Somehow, the humans had weapons that Vorthak's science could not identify, but Vexthor refused to believe it. Humans were primitives. They could not have developed anything that advanced. They must have stolen technology from another species, he decided. Or maybe they found some ancient alien artifacts. Either way, they won't know how to use them properly. Captain Drix studied the tactical displays more carefully. "Prince, I'm also detecting some unusual energy patterns from their moon. The readings are very strong." "Probably just power generators for their mining operations," Vexthor dismissed, but privately he was starting to feel nervous. Nothing about this system matched what the scouts had reported. The humans seemed much more advanced than anyone expected. And that woman, Dr. Chen, had seemed far too confident for someone facing impossible odds. Vexthor decided to send a message to his uncle, King Zethkar. He needed to report what he was seeing. "Uncle, I have reached the human system. There are some unexpected developments. The humans appear to have more advanced technology than our scouts reported." The king's reply came quickly. "How advanced? Do you need reinforcements?" Vexthor hesitated. Asking for help on his first command would be embarrassing. And really, what could these humans do? Advanced or not, they were still just one species. "On one world against the might of the Vorthak Empire. No reinforcements needed, Uncle. Just some surprises to deal with. I will proceed as planned." "Good. The galaxy is watching, nephew. Show them Vorthak's strength." Vexthor closed the communication and turned to his fleet commanders. "All ships, prepare for battle. We attack their outer defenses in 6 hours. Show these humans what happens when they threaten the Vorthak Empire." As the fleet prepared for battle, more strange signals came from throughout the human system. The communications seemed to be coordinating defensive preparations across multiple planets and facilities. "Prince," Yex reported, "the humans are definitely preparing for battle. Their communication network is incredibly sophisticated. They seem to be coordinating activities across their entire solar system in real time." "Let them prepare," Vexthor said confidently. "It won't help them. Tomorrow, we will show the galaxy how the Vorthak deal with upstart primitives." But deep in his mind, a small voice was whispering that something was very wrong here. The humans were too calm, too prepared, too confident. Nobody faced a Vorthak fleet without fear unless they had very good reasons. Vexthor pushed those doubts aside. He was a prince of the Vorthak Empire. He commanded 300 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Whatever tricks these humans had learned, they could not possibly stand against such power. He had no idea how wrong he was about to be proven. Prince Vexthor stood ready on the bridge of his flagship as the 72-hour deadline passed. The human woman, Dr. Chen, had not contacted them again. No surrender had come. It was time to teach these primitives a lesson. "All ships, begin. The attack," he commanded. "Target their outer defense platforms first. Show them what Vorthak weapons can do." The Crimson Talon fleet moved forward in perfect formation. 300 red and gold ships advancing like a deadly storm toward Earth's outer defenses. Vexthor felt excited. Finally, he would prove himself in battle. The first shots came from the Vorthak ships. Bright plasma beams lanced out toward the human defense platforms. These weapons had destroyed the shields of countless enemy ships. They should have blown the human stations apart instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The plasma beams simply passed through the human platforms without causing any damage at all. "What?" Vexthor stared at the tactical display. "That's impossible. Run diagnostics on all weapon systems." "Weapons are functioning normally, Prince," his tactical officer reported. "But our plasma beams had no effect on the human defenses." Before Vexthor could respond, the humans fired back. What came at the Vorthak fleet was unlike anything they had ever seen. Instead of energy beams or missiles, the humans fired what looked like simple metal rods, but these rods moved incredibly fast. They traveled at a significant fraction of light speed. When they hit Vorthak ships, they passed straight through the energy shields as if they weren't there. The first ship hit was the Crimson Blade, a heavy cruiser in the front of the formation. The metal rod punched through its hull like it was made of paper. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash. "Shields had no effect," Captain Drix shouted over the alarms. "How are they bypassing our energy barriers?" More metal rods streaked toward the fleet. Each one found its target with perfect accuracy. 5 more Vorthak ships died in the first minute of battle. Their advanced shields, which had protected them against the weapons of dozens of species, were completely useless. "Evasive maneuvers," Vexthor ordered. "All ships scatter!" The fleet broke formation, trying to avoid the deadly projectiles. But it didn't help. The human weapons seemed to predict where each ship would move. No matter how the Vorthak pilots tried to dodge, the metal rods found them. Then the real horror began. From hidden positions throughout the asteroid belt, massive installations revealed themselves. They had been disguised as mining equipment, but now they showed their true nature. They were weapons platforms, and they were huge. "Prince, we're detecting at least 50 major weapons installations in the asteroid belt," the sensor officer reported with panic in his voice. "They've been hiding among the rocks." "How big are those installations?" Vexthor demanded. "Some of them are larger than our biggest ships. And Prince, they're all targeting us." The asteroid weapons opened fire, but instead of more metal rods, they fired something even worse, beams of energy that seemed to bend space itself. When these beams hit Vorthak ships, the vessels didn't just explode. They twisted and warped before breaking apart at the molecular level. "What kind of weapons are those?" Drix asked in horror. Before anyone could answer, the human moon began to change. Huge sections of the surface opened like flower petals. The entire moon was artificial, or at least heavily modified. Inside was a massive weapons complex that looked bigger than most space stations. "Impossible," Vexthor whispered. "They hollowed out their entire moon?" From the moon came a new type of attack. Waves of energy that seemed to interfere with Vorthak computer systems. Ships throughout the fleet began reporting system failures. Navigation computers crashed. Weapon targeting systems went offline. Life support began to flicker. "Our computers are being attacked through our own communication networks," the communications officer reported. "The humans have some kind of electronic warfare system that's incredibly advanced." "Cut all external communications," Vexthor ordered. "Isolate our systems." "Too late, Prince. They're already inside our networks. It's like they knew exactly how our systems work." The battle was becoming a massacre. In the first hour, the Vorthak fleet lost over 100 ships. The survivors were scattered and confused. Their weapons couldn't penetrate human defenses, but human weapons cut through Vorthak technology like it was made of cardboard. "Prince, we need to retreat," Captain Drix said urgently. "We're being slaughtered." Vexthor's pride fought against the obvious truth, but more ships were dying every minute. The humans had weapons that the Vorthak Empire had never seen before. Technology that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our scouts said they were primitives." And the answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Chen's voice filled the bridge, somehow bypassing all their communication blocks. "Prince Vexthor, you're wondering how we developed such advanced technology so quickly," she said calmly. "The answer is simple. We've been expecting you." "Expecting us?" "That's impossible. We never contacted this system before." "No, but your scouts weren't as careful as they thought. We detected them years ago. We captured one of their ships and learned a great deal about Vorthak technology. We've been preparing for this day ever since." Vexthor felt cold fear creeping up his spine. "You captured a Vorthak scout ship?" "We did more than capture it. We completely reverse-engineered your technology. Then we improved it. What you're facing now is Vorthak science enhanced by human engineering. We took your weapons and made them better. The tactical display showed the terrible truth. The human defense network was vast and sophisticated, weapons platforms hidden throughout the system. Electronic warfare systems that could penetrate any Vorthak computer, and weapons that used principles the Vorthak didn't even understand. You see, Prince, humans have a particular talent, Dr. Chen continued. We're very good at taking things apart and putting them back together in new ways. Your scout ship taught us everything we needed to know about your technology. Then we spent 2 years building something that could defeat it. Another wave of human weapons fire swept through the fleet. 30 more Vorthak ships died. The survivors were running out of ammunition and hope. We also learned about your culture, Dr. Chen added. Your empire conquers through overwhelming force and technological superiority. You've never faced an enemy that could match your technology. That's your weakness. Vexthor realized the horrible truth. The humans had not just prepared defenses, they had prepared a trap. The entire solar system was a weapons platform designed specifically to destroy Vorthak fleets. All ships, retreat, he ordered. Fall back to the system's edge, but as the surviving ships tried to withdraw, they made another terrible discovery. The way out was blocked. More weapons platforms had appeared behind them, hidden until now among the outer planets. Prince, we're surrounded, Drix reported. They've cut off our escape route. On the tactical display, Vexthor could see the remaining ships of his once mighty fleet. Less than 100 vessels remained out of 300. They were trapped in the middle of the human solar system with enemy weapons on all sides. This was planned, he realized aloud. They wanted us to come here. They wanted us to enter their system. Very good, Prince, Dr. Chen's voice confirmed. You're learning. Now let me teach you something else about humanity. We don't just defend ourselves. When someone threatens us, we make sure they can never threaten anyone ever again. The remaining Vorthak ships huddled together, surrounded by human weapons. Vexthor had come here expecting an easy conquest. Instead, he had led his fleet into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history, and the worst was yet to come. The remaining 97 ships of Prince Vexthor's fleet huddled together in the center of the human solar system. They were completely surrounded. Weapons platforms emerged from hiding places throughout the system, all pointing their deadly barrels at the trapped Vorthak vessels. Status report, Vexthor demanded, though he could see the hopeless situation on his tactical display. 43 ships still have working weapons systems, Captain Drix reported. But our ammunition is running low. The humans have been absorbing our plasma fire without taking any damage. What about our shields? Mostly intact, but they're useless against human weapons. Everything they fire goes right through our energy barriers. Vexthor studied the display showing human positions throughout the system. What he saw made his blood run cold. The weapons platforms were everywhere. Hidden in the asteroid belt, disguised as mining equipment, built into the surfaces of moons and small planets, even floating in the empty space between worlds. How many weapons platforms do they have? He asked. The sensor officer worked frantically at his station. I count at least 2,000 major installations, Prince. And those are just the ones we can detect. There could be more hidden from our sensors. 2,000 weapons platforms against 97 damaged ships. The mathematics of the situation were clear. Even if every Vorthak ship fought perfectly, they would be destroyed quickly. Dr. Chen's voice filled the bridge again. Prince Vexthor, I hope you're beginning to understand your situation. You're completely surrounded by weapons designed specifically to counter Vorthak technology. What do you want? Vexthor asked through gritted teeth. Do you want us to surrender? Actually, no, Dr. Chen replied calmly. Surrender is not acceptable. You came here to conquer and enslave my species. You threatened to destroy our cities and kill our people. There can be no forgiveness for that. Then what? I want to show you something. Something that will explain why humanity is not like the other species you've conquered. On the main screen, an image appeared. It showed the human moon, but not as Vexthor had seen it before. This was the moon as it truly was. The surface opened, like a giant mechanical flower, revealing the massive weapons complex inside. This took us 18 months to build, Dr. Chen explained. We hollowed out most of our moon and turned it into the largest weapons platform in this part of the galaxy. But that's not the impressive part. The image changed to show Mars. The red planet's surface was covered with industrial facilities, but now Vexthor could see their true purpose. They weren't terraforming equipment, they were weapons factories. Every facility on Mars is producing weapons and ammunition designed specifically to fight the Vorthak Empire, Dr. Chen continued. We've been manufacturing anti-Vorthak technology for 2 years straight. Do you know how much military equipment 2 years of constant production can create? Vexthor didn't answer. He was beginning to understand the scope of what humanity had accomplished. They had turned their entire solar system into a weapon. But even that's not the most impressive part, Dr. Chen said. Watch this. On the screen, the asteroid belt began to move. Not just the weapons platforms hidden among the rocks. The entire asteroid belt was shifting. Huge mechanical systems moved the space rocks into new positions with perfect coordination. We've been mining asteroids for resources, yes, but we've also been positioning them. Every major asteroid in this system can be moved to any location. We choose. Each one can become a kinetic weapon with enough force to crack a moon. Vexthor watched in horror as hundreds of asteroids began moving toward his fleet's position. Each one was accelerating to tremendous speeds. If they hit his ships, the impact would destroy them instantly. "Stop!" he shouted. "We surrender! We'll leave your system and never return." "I told you, Prince. Surrender is not acceptable. You came here with the intent to commit genocide. Now you'll discover what happens when you threaten a species that's better at warfare than you are." The asteroids stopped their approach, but they remained in position around the Vorthak fleet, ready to strike at any moment. "Dr. Chen," Vexthor tried to keep his voice steady. "My uncle, King Zethkar, commands fleets across 17 star systems. If you destroy us, he will send armies to avenge our deaths." "Will he?" Dr. Chen asked. "Let me show you something else." A new image appeared. On the screen, it showed space near the edge of the solar system. But this space was not empty. Massive structures floated there, previously invisible to Vorthak sensors. "Those are our real defense platforms," Dr. Chen explained. "Everything you've seen so far was just the inner defenses. The weapons you've been fighting are our light garrison forces." The structures at the edge of the system were enormous. Each one was larger than Vexthor's flagship, and there were dozens of them. Those platforms use gravitational manipulation. "Technology," Dr. Chen continued. "They can create artificial gravity wells strong enough to trap entire fleets. They can also generate gravitic waves that will tear apart any ship trying to enter or leave this system." Gravitational manipulation? Vexthor could barely believe what he was hearing. That's theoretical technology. No species has ever successfully weaponized gravity. "No alien species," Dr. Chen corrected. "Humans have a talent for making impossible things work. We've had working gravity manipulation for 6 months now." Captain Drix was staring at the sensor readings in disbelief. "Prince, those gravitational fields, they're strong enough to affect the orbits of planets. How is this possible?" Dr. Chen answered the question. "Human scientists are very creative when they're motivated. When we realized that the galaxy was full of hostile species with superior technology, we decided to level the playing field. We've developed weapons that most aliens can't even imagine." Another image appeared on the screen. This one showed the outer planets of the solar system. But they were not natural planets anymore. Huge installations covered their surfaces. Mechanical rings orbited around them. "We've turned every planet in our system into a fortress," Dr. Chen explained. "Those rings around our gas giants, They're not natural formations, they're particle accelerators. Weapons that can fire projectiles at 90% the speed of light. 90% light speed? Vexthor felt sick. At those velocities, even a grain of sand would have enough energy to destroy a battleship. And now, Prince Vexthor, we come to the real point of this demonstration. Dr. Chen's voice became deadly serious. You came here expecting to find a primitive species that you could conquer easily. Instead, you found a species that has spent 2 years preparing to fight the most advanced military force in this part of the galaxy. And we didn't just prepare to fight you, we prepared to win. On the tactical display, new contacts appeared. Ships were emerging from hidden positions throughout the system. Not just weapons platforms now, but actual spacecraft. Hundreds of them. And they were all heading toward the trapped Vorthak fleet. Those are our warships, Dr. Chen said. We built them using improved versions of your own technology. They're faster than Vorthak ships, more heavily armed and completely immune to your weapons. Vexthor counted the approaching human ships. There were at least 500 of them. Each one appeared to be heavily armed and armored. His 97 damaged vessels would not last 5 minutes against such a force. But we're not going to destroy you with conventional weapons, Dr. Chen continued. We're going to use something much more interesting. Something that will send a very clear message to your uncle and the rest of the galaxy. What are you talking about? We're going to erase you from existence, Prince. Not just kill you. Not just destroy your ships. We're going to remove you from reality itself. You and your entire fleet will simply cease to have ever existed. Vexthor felt terror like he had never experienced before. That's impossible. No, technology can do that. Alien technology can't, Dr. Chen agreed, but human technology is different. We've developed something we call quantum erasure. It allows us to remove objects from all possible timelines simultaneously. The human ships were now close enough that Vexthor could see them clearly. They looked sleek and deadly, like nothing he had ever seen before, and they were all aimed directly at his fleet. Time to demonstrate humanity's ultimate weapon, Dr. Chen announced. Goodbye, Prince Vexthor. You never should have threatened Earth. King Zethkar sat in his throne room, watching the galaxy-wide broadcast of his nephew's conquest. 3 days had passed since Prince Vexthor's fleet had reached Earth. The king expected to see news of humanity's surrender by now. Instead, his communication screen showed only static. General Krex, the king called to his military advisor. Why haven't we heard from Prince Vexthor? The conquest should be finished by now. The old general looked worried as he checked his data pad. My king, we've lost all contact with the Crimson Talon fleet. Our long-range communications can't reach them. Equipment failure? Unlikely, my king. We've tried every communication method we have. It's as if the entire fleet has simply vanished. King Zethkar frowned. A communications blackout during a military operation was never a good sign, but surely his nephew's fleet could handle a few primitive humans. Send a scout ship to investigate, he ordered. I want to know what's happening in that system. Already done, my king. The scout ship should reach Earth's system in 2 days. The king nodded and tried to push down his growing worry. 300 ships against one primitive world. Nothing could go wrong. Could it? 2 days later, the scout ship Silent Wing reached the edge of the human solar system. Captain Vex, a veteran of many reconnaissance missions, carefully scanned the area where Prince Vexthor's fleet should have been. Sensors show no trace of our fleet, he reported to his crew. No wreckage, no energy signatures, no communication signals, nothing. Could they have moved to another part of the system? His second officer asked. Possibly. Begin a full system scan. For 6 hours, the Silent Wing searched the entire human solar system. They found evidence of massive space construction projects. Weapons platforms throughout the system, industrial facilities on multiple planets, but no trace of the Crimson Talon fleet. Captain, the sensor officer reported, I'm detecting a human transmission directed at us. Put it on screen. The image that appeared showed a human female with dark hair and serious eyes. She sat in what looked like a command center surrounded by advanced technology. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen, director of the Solar Defense Consortium," she said calmly. "You're looking for Prince Vexthor's fleet, aren't you?" Captain Vex was too surprised to answer immediately. "How did the humans know why he was here?" "Don't bother searching," Dr. Chen continued. "You won't find them. Prince Vexthor and his entire fleet no longer exist." "What do you mean, Captain?" Vex finally found his voice. "I mean exactly what I said. They don't exist anymore. Not destroyed, not captured, erased from reality itself." "That's impossible." Dr. Chen smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "Many things are impossible, until humans make them possible. Captain, I'm going to send you back to your king with a message. But first, let me show you something." The screen changed to show a recording. Captain Vex watched in horror as he saw the Crimson Talon fleet surrounded by human weapons platforms. He saw the brief, one-sided battle. He saw the human ships moving in for the final attack, and then he saw something that made his blood run cold. The human ships fired beams of strange energy at the Vorthak vessels. But the Vorthak ships didn't explode. They didn't break apart. They simply faded away, becoming transparent before disappearing completely. "We call it quantum erasure," Dr. Chen explained as the recording continued. "It removes objects from all possible timelines. Prince Vexthor and his fleet never existed. They never will exist. In every possible version of reality, they are gone." "How?" Captain Vex whispered. "Human ingenuity. When we realized the galaxy was full of hostile alien species, we decided to develop weapons that would make other species think twice before attacking us. Quantum erasure is our ultimate deterrent." The recording ended. Dr. Chen appeared on screen again. "Now, Captain, you're going to return to your king with a message from humanity. Are you ready to hear it?" Captain Vex could only nod. His mind was reeling from what he had seen. "Tell King Zethkar that Earth is not interested in joining his empire. We are not interested in conquest or expansion. We want only to be left alone in our solar system. But any species that threatens humanity will discover that we have moved far beyond simple destruction. We can remove our enemies from existence itself." Dr. Chen paused to let her words sink in. "However, I want to be very clear about something. We are not the aggressors here. We don't attack other species unless they attack us first. We don't conquer other worlds. We don't enslave alien populations. We are not like the Vorthak Empire." Another pause. "But we are very, very good at defending ourselves. Tell your king that Prince Vexthor's fate awaits any fleet that enters our system with hostile intentions." Will you prove this to him?" Captain Vex asked nervously. "I thought you might ask that," Dr. Chen replied. "Very well. We'll give your king a demonstration." The transmission ended. Captain Vex immediately set course for home, desperate to warn his king about what he had learned. 3 days later, King Zethkar received terrible news from one of his outer colonies. The mining world of Kethvar, home to 50 million Vorthak citizens, had simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next moment there was nothing but empty space. But the strangest part was that nobody remembered the planet except for a few confused officials who had quantum-isolated records mentioning it. As far as most of the Empire was concerned, Kethvar had never existed. 1 hour later, the planet reappeared exactly where it had been. The colonists were confused but unharmed. They had no memory of being erased from existence. With the planet came a message from Dr. Sarah Chen. "King Zethkar, this was a demonstration. We temporarily removed one of your colonies from existence, then restored it. We could have left it erased forever. We could do the same to your entire empire. Every world, every ship, every citizen could simply cease to have ever existed." The king stared at the message in horror. The humans could erase entire planets from reality and then bring them back? What kind of power was that? "We don't want to use this weapon," Dr. Chen continued. We prefer to live in peace. But your nephew forced our hand when he came to conquer Earth. Now you know what happens to those who threaten humanity. The message paused. I'm going to broadcast this same message to every civilized species in the galaxy. They all need to understand that Earth is protected by weapons beyond their comprehension. Any species that attacks humanity will be erased from existence. King Zethkar's hands shook as he realized the full implications. The humans were not just defending themselves. They were establishing themselves as the most dangerous species in the galaxy. One final thing, King Zethkar. Your scouts who visited our system 2 years ago, they reported that humans were primitive because that's what we wanted them to report. We captured their ship, altered their memories, and sent them home with false information. We've been planning for this day since we first detected alien life. The message ended, but the king knew it would be broadcast across the galaxy within hours. Every species would learn that a single world had developed weapons capable of erasing entire civilizations from existence. The next day, King Zethkar issued a decree throughout his empire. The human solar system was declared permanently off-limits. Any ship that entered human space would be considered lost. Any captain who approached Earth would be executed as a traitor. Across the galaxy, other species received Dr. Chen's message and came to the same conclusion. Humanity was too dangerous to provoke. The small blue world in the unremarkable solar system became the most feared location in known space. Trade routes were redirected to avoid human territory. Military patrols gave Earth's system a buffer zone of dozens of light years. Exploration fleets marked human space as forbidden territory on all their maps. Dr. Sarah Chen watched these developments from her command center on the human moon. Humanity had achieved something no other species had managed in galactic history. They had established absolute security not through conquest, but through the threat of ultimate retaliation. Status report, she asked her staff. All alien fleets have withdrawn from our borders, her tactical officer reported. No hostile contacts detected within a 50-light-year radius. Good. Any signs that other species are trying to develop quantum erasure technology? None so far. Our technical analysis suggests it would take most alien civilizations centuries to even understand the basic principles. Dr. Chen nodded. Humanity's greatest advantage had always been their ability to innovate and adapt. When faced with a galaxy full of hostile aliens with superior technology, humans had done what they always did. They had found a way to win. Earth was safe, not because humanity had conquered the galaxy, but because the galaxy was now too afraid to threaten Earth. And in command centers across human space, scientists and engineers continued their work, developing new technologies and new weapons. Because Dr. Chen knew that someday, some species would be foolish enough to test humanity's defenses again. When that day came, humanity would be ready.